When we get to the yard, we're ready to do big things. From the job site to the ballpark, we come together and gear up with pride. Ready to perfect our craft and dare to be great. Strauss High Performance Workwear is proud to partner with Major League Baseball, celebrating the preparation and dedication it takes to safely get the job done. Because whether you're on the field or in the field, your gear is a source of pride. Strauss and Major League Baseball. Gear up, go yard.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. Welcome, Greg Soulje. Glad to have you back with us here today.
And a happy Friday to you and one and all out there, Sarah. Saw the opening here with a couple of the ball clubs that unfortunately are no longer with us in the playoffs. The Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies, which on a goofy play were exited yesterday afternoon out of the playoffs. And we'll see what happens on the I-94 corridor up to Milwaukee Saturday night.
Yeah, our Cubs are going strong. I mean, I was very surprised this morning. I did not stay up for that late to watch the game, but
I did. It's been a struggle this morning. It was an 11:20 conclusion. Well, 3 hours past my bedtime. But it was worth the watch last night.
But definitely a great open, a great timing here today with the playoffs in play. And we want to, of course, recognize our weather segment sponsor, which is Strauss. You may have seen Strauss on some of the helmets, batting helmets that the teams were wearing, which is really exciting. But Strauss is a family-owned global company, third-generation designs and manufacturers, technical workwear and footwear for farmers, builders, and craftsmen. It's the tool you wear. So, Greg, let's talk weather. I know there's some things going on out there that I want to give us an update on. So go ahead and then do that.
Okay, we'll do just that. And as it applies to the Heartland and the Corn Belt, things in relatively good order. Harvest continues on. Our pals down in Philo, Illinois, on the water tower down there. It's maybe about a half hour outside of Champaign downtown. And the campus, Philo, Illinois, they are going full tilt. They are just about wrapped up there locally with corn and a fair amount of bean harvest with some very good numbers and some big numbers coming in as well. So despite a little rain on the radar, one of these kind of what we call over-the-top weather systems riding the crest of the warm ridge, which has been parked over the middle part of the country, allowing for rapid harvest and fall cleanup, maybe some warm soils out there. And yes, we had some frost as well in some areas of the northern and eastern Corn Belt, non-damaging, not threatening. How did Earl Finkel put it? The potted pansies and petunias on the patio did not perish, I believe, on mid to upper days over the mornings, especially in the northern. Sprinkles moving through parts of Missouri and Illinois. You can really see three separate rain areas. One moving in the Pacific Northwest. That's upper air weather system number one. Number two across the southwestern reaches of the country. So it's really some of our livestock people out in the southwest that are going to have to stay heads up for a system dropping on in. And there are two tropical features. You can see one off the southwestern part of the country, Baja, Priscilla, and Raymond. Both are going to get together, bring moisture northward, and there is a big flash flood potential over the southwest and significant moisture across a wide area of the west with the separate weather systems, the polar jet streams digging southward. The winter storm watches are up effect across Montana and Idaho. And the wet weather pattern, too, continues down through Florida. A lot of people from, at least people that we are in contact with down there, complaining about the wet weather this summertime season. But guess what? The drought is essentially over with in that particular part of the country. The wet weather continues on there. A few sprinkles into maybe Philo, Illinois, to the I-70 corridor, Wabash Valley, Terre Haute, Vincennes. Of course, last week about this time, big rains over parts of the Kankakee River Valley, the southern Great Lakes region, and down near the Ohio. Everyone else in between in tough shape with regard to dryness and drought. We'll take a look at the drought monitor. It continues to worsen. Hastens harvest, but continues to worsen nonetheless across the Corn Belt. Look at the moisture in the Pacific Northwest into Northern California and across the southwestern reaches of the country as well. And it just continues to blossom. We've got what we call a digging jet stream pattern. That's where the jet stream and upper energy drive northwest to southeast, and you get that U-shaped configuration to the upper air pattern troughs. We talk about it on the TV show a lot, and it will continue on through the better part of next week. And so will the moisture, and so will be the lowering snow levels most livestock managers out there through Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, points southward into the southwest will start around 9,000 feet, and then probably down around 4,000 feet by late in the weekend, early next week. So that'll cause some consternation out there. Quick little lobe of weather moving through the lower Great Lakes region, a quick dash of showers, a couple of thunderstorms. It'll be that weather system, the one down through Florida, and then off frame is tropical system Jerry. The three of those are going to get together. And if you remember Superstorm Sandy, it's kind of like the same setup that we had here a few years ago. Not quite the strength, the dynamics, the worry, the damage, and all that. But while it's not a tropical system, it's kind of like a tropical system. And anyway, we slice and dice it. We call it a subtropical low that will bring wind and rain and squalls and all that kind of stuff associated with tropical weather on 80-degree water temperatures into the Outer Banks of the Carolinas, coastal sections of the Northeast, and ultimately northward in through New England. Another tough part of the country that's in a world of hurt regarding dryness and drought. Anyway, tomorrow afternoon, it's a southeast to south wind, warming temperatures across the northern and central plains, scattered showers, thunderstorms, widespread rain, and lowering snow elevations across the Pacific Northwest and northern Rockies. There'll be flash flood potential across the desert Southwest as well. And this is going to be a multi-day phenomenon. It's just not going to go away in a day or two. Should last well into next week. And you can see there by Sunday morning, some snow around Yellowstone and maybe into areas of the Treasure Valley of Idaho and the higher peaks across Montana, the high plains areas of Montana as the showers and thunderstorms. And you can see Raymond coming on shore into Baja California. Right behind that, that's Raymond and Priscilla, both kind of Fuji warring around one another in that particular part of the country. And you can see a stout northeast to east wind to 50 miles per hour and rain, plenty of it, into New England and parts of Pennsylvania and the mid-Atlantic region. Next 48 hours, look at the plume of moisture right from Baja California northward up through Montana, Pacific Northwestern reaches of the country as well. And coastal areas as well as the Outer Banks of the Carolinas will get some big rain, 5 to 10 inches from the system alone, and another 3 to 8 that will come down from that system at some point early to mid next week in the eastern states. The drought monitor is pretty lousy, pretty rough looking, and we hope that once we can get livestock operations, as in confinement areas, the feed and haying where it needs to be for the wintertime season, we can kind of let Mother Nature do her due course and get some moisture going. And we're probably, again, a few weeks away from a significant pattern shift as it applies to the Eastern Corn Belt. And you'll see on this weekend's TV show, we do have a couple of opportunities to the plains and western or northwestern reaches of the Corn Belt to get some moisture going, but it will tend to be sporadic, move through, replaced by a few days worth of dry time. But not much going on in improvement in the Eastern Corn Belt. You can see some of the worst areas in the east central Illinois, northern and northeastern Indiana, northwest Ohio, Maumee Valley, around Toledo, Defiance, Napoleon, Ohio. That's a big ag area there too, and into the northeast of New England, and obviously across the divide and points on westward. There is a little more of a localized Midwestern view, and around Lake Shelbyville, Decatur, the Farm Progress Showdown site down there, the worst of it in a severe drought mode that extends into parts of north central and northeast Indiana and northwest Ohio, with the western and northwestern Corn Belt really relatively good soil moisture conditions. And again, they'll be the first to get some additional rainfall going forward, at least later on in the coming week. No real widespread severe weather, just a couple of garden variety thunderstorms down through Florida, parts of the Mississippi Valley, the western states, and of course in the Pacific Northwest, where look at the potential heavy California, Austin freeze in some of those ag areas of the Pacific Northwest, Great Basin, Treasure Valley of Idaho, and some snow too. And of course, flooding potential across a good chunk of Arizona and New Mexico. Remember, that's still the worst of the drought-ridden areas. You bring down wind, you get a dust storm, then you water it down with a quick 1 to 2 inch downpour, and you get flash flooding going lickety-split. And of course, the rain and the squalls from the eastern Carolinas into the northeast to New England. And things are all quiet, the weather scene in front across much of the heartland plain states and into the Corn Belt. There's a little more of a localized look at some of the issues regarding the eastern states with 50-plus mile-per-hour winds, rain and squalls. So it kind of behaves like a tropical storm, but it's not quite a tropical storm, but it has tropical characteristics to a certain degree. That's why we call it a subtropical storm. Not quite the impact of Sandy that we had a few years ago that was felt as far west as the eastern Corn Belt locales, but that's not the right particular setup. But here is the setup. Jerry, tropical system down into areas of, looks to be just a little north of the Leeward Islands. Karen out to sea. And in the Pacific, again, there's talk that there's no El Nino going on, but I don't know what we look at here in the weather office. There's still some semblance. We're not in a neutral state. We're certainly not shifting already into a La Nina. These are not ping pong balls that we track in the atmosphere, as Dr. Clayton Rytan talked about way back in the day of going to weather school at NIU. So it takes a while for the atmosphere to kind of catch up, if you will, to what the whole climatological layout is portraying in the tropical waters of the Pacific, the Atlantic, and across the Arctic Circle, what we call the stratosphere. We keep an eye on temperatures above the main layer of atmosphere that drives weather systems across North America. Anyway, two systems, and they're taking dead aim at Baja California, western Mexico, and into the southwestern reaches of the country. And there's a little trajectory movement on at least Raymond the next couple of days, and certainly Priscilla in tow as well. Next 7 days, we may eke out a tenth to a quarter in some northern and western Corn Belt locales. The big action is east, southeast, central and south Florida, southwest, northern plains, and the divide on westward from there. And that will include, again, some snow, and a pretty significant snow above about 4,000 or 5,000 feet in the northern and central Rockies and high plains areas. So look at the big low, the trough, a full latitude trough, if you will, and little systems that get ejected out between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's where little pieces of energy come out southwest to northeast. And that will mean two things: some opportunities for some shower activity across some of the newly sown winter wheat fields. That hot high, that H, is the usual summertime high, holding on at 90 to 95 degrees into areas of Texas, the Gulf Coast areas. And so the atmosphere is kind of capped off there. But that southwest flow up aloft and some cooling up aloft will mean we'll have to keep an eye, despite the October calendar date, of a couple of stronger, severe storms in pockets across the plains next week. Meanwhile, downstream, you can see the last of that low making its way out of the northeast to New England between Monday and Tuesday. And then we're back basically in a dry northwest wind flow. Temperatures are late summer-like over the southwestern Corn Belt to more typical normal for the far northern and eastern Great Lakes. And so in between, very easy to take mid-October calendar anticipated. And there's these surface systems. You can see that tightly wound low Monday into the northeast to New England. High pressure builds on in, and we'll get some fluctuation of temperatures. Can't rule out maybe a frost patch northern most areas of the plains and Great Lakes region. And that's pretty much the story. There's just not a lot by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, other than the ongoing support up aloft to generate showers and thunderstorms in the plains and the southwestern states. And you can still see some circulation offshore, that is, of down eastern Maine as late as Thursday and Friday, as we kind of block the atmosphere. There's some indication we're going to go into a blocking pattern or an omega pattern. Recall the omega letter. You got a curlicue on to the left side, a curl to the right side. In between, that's high pressure up aloft. And so when you get an omega setup of the atmosphere, things don't really move a lot. You stay locked into what you got. That means unsettled west, okay central, and still unsettled and cool into the northeast and New England. High temperatures for the day-to-day are delightful. They'll stay that way across much of the Corn Belt, at least, with readings in the upper 60s, 70s, a few pockets close to 80. A cool-off slated by early next week on Monday west of the Missouri. That's a little bit below average, and again, cold enough to support snow into Montana, Idaho, and the high plains areas, and a cool-off because of the cloud cover and moisture into the northeast to New England. But I'll take 70 to 75 as far north as here, and even up towards the Sault Ste. Marie. And then temps to recover under that warm ridge as things kind of settle down over the middle part of the country, upper 60s and 70s and a few low to mid 80s in the southern plains, and pretty comfortable weather for the time of year across Corn Belt locales. 6 to 10 day outlook is pretty straightforward. Unsettled in the southwest and plains. There's a separate corridor. You can see kind of the hashed red lines. That's a pretty mild air mass over the Canadian prairie off the Pacific. And we'll get systems that ride the top of that into the northeast of New England. So you've got the ridge really in the Mississippi Valley and Midwest. And so nothing major going on. Do note, however, two things. That big trough, that U-shaped curl into would be northern Alaska across in through Siberia. The snows are already above average and on the ground across Siberia, and that is the initial impact area where cold air intrusions get started. So that's something just to monitor going forward here as we get deeper into autumn and the start of winter time and its trajectory, which will be probably over the Canadian prairie, the northern and eastern Corn Belt into the northeast of New England. Weeks away from that, but just something to keep in the back of your noggin. Until then, enjoy this temperature setup over the middle part of the country. And then precip is a little bit overdone in the northern and central plains, but the right idea, showery and a very wet weather pattern, but drought relief too across sections of California. Speaking of that Siberian cold air mass, Sarah will update the rest of the fall and winter outlook as we get together next Wednesday for our half-hour live stream on the 15th. And probably not anticipating a lot of change from what we talked about last month, but we'll update fall and winter going forward and when finally La Nina comes into play on the weather maps and charts. I think still a bit premature. It's there. Yes, we know it's going to materialize, but again, it's not like throwing a light switch and you're into an instant La Nina or El Nino or neutral state atmosphere. It takes a little while for things to catch up, and we'll talk about that in greater detail next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm seeing reports it could be a little wetter winter here in the Midwest, but that doesn't necessarily mean snow, I understand.
Right,
so.
Exactly. Probably, and I've talked about this on TV and on radio, kind of putting this analogy from a milder to drier to mild to normal rainfall to still pretty warm and rain, generally liquid form. It's probably not till sometime around the holidays and beyond. It'll be pretty abrupt as well when we transition into the cold, and probably setting the stage for more stormy weather cycles as we get into the deeper wintertime season, as in the stuff that comes down all at once. You get a few days to recover and then you're back at it. So probably leaning that way, but we think there should be some degree of soil moisture recharge before we lock it up for the wintertime season. That's the thinking going forward. Again, we'll talk about it in detail next Wednesday.
Yep. Next Wednesday, make sure you tune in on Feed Stuffs 365. Well, Greg, thank you so much. We'll touch base with you 3 times next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So probably lots to talk about, and we're enjoying this weather. So appreciate it. And hopefully we enjoy a really good ball game tonight.
That would be, Saturday night at Miller Park.
Oh, that's right. It's Saturday night.
Saturday evening, I believe. And we'll see what transpires out there. So until then, go Cubs, go.
Very good. Thank you so much, Greg.
Take care.